If you work in local government communications and you do crisis communications, you've likely been through your fair share of crisis situations and emergencies. I know I have. But you also know there's not a lot of support out there for us. Hi, my name is Rob Trewartha and I'm the Director of Communications for the City of Mississauga. I'd like to share with you some thoughts on crisis communications in the local government sector. Despite there being over 3,000 municipalities in Canada, we sort of work individually when it comes to crisis communications. In the private sector, there is much more support and focus on crisis communications because, frankly, it matters to the bottom line. I would argue, though, that it matters to the municipal bottom line as well, just in a different way. A few months ago, I actually wrote a paper on this subject for my crisis communications class as part of the Master of Communications Management program at McMaster University. I've posted a link in the comments of this video. Spoiler alert, there isn't much research on what makes effective local government crisis communication. I've read the literature about crisis communication in local governments as well as in the public sector, so you don't have to. In short, I have 5 lessons to share with you. Lesson 1. The public good is your guide. If you work in this sector, you know that we face a lot of pressures that the private sector doesn't face. Politics, a ton of different public interests, demand for accurate and timely information, legal frameworks, and little to no budget. But you do have one awesome responsibility. That's maintaining the public good. This means your work carries weight. It matters, and it means you have a built-in advantage. People want to listen to you. Don't forget your purpose. Lesson 2, prepare, and then prepare some more. In the private sector, especially in those industries prone to disasters and emergencies, they have teams dedicated to crisis preparation. Why? Because it matters to the bottom line and shareholders demand it. In local governments, our limited budgets and organizational structures make this more of a challenge. We don't develop a crisis mindset the way we should. But the research shows that if local governments prepare for crisis, they respond much better to a crisis when it hits. Surprise, surprise. The research also shows that local governments treat an emergency as if it is new every time. We need to change this. We need to have a crisis mindset. So some basic questions you can ask of your team and your organization are: who is your crisis team and who is the first on your call list when crisis hits? Where will you meet? How will you communicate? Who will speak for your organization? Is leadership, both bureaucratic and political, up to speed on your crisis plans? And do they know their role? All of these questions and many more need to be answered well before a crisis hits. They should inform your crisis communications plan. Oh, and I can't stress this point enough. Don't underestimate the role politics will play in your response. Get on the same page with your CAO and your mayor about the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why of your city's crisis plan. It will save you in the long run. Lesson 3, learn from the private sector. As I said, the private sector takes crisis comms more seriously than we do in local government. Study their responses and learn from their successes as well as their failures. Maple Leaf Foods and the Listeria outbreak in 2010 comes to mind as a great example of a successful crisis response. You can do the same thing for the public sector too. The Toronto Library's recent response to a cyber attack was very well done. The private sector protects their brand at all costs because a damaged brand hurts their bottom line. For local governments, I would argue trust is our bottom line. Protect it at all costs. If you lose the public trust, you lose legitimacy. And this could literally cost lives. Lesson 4, you're talking to human beings. Your job in a crisis is to get out accurate and relevant information in a timely fashion. But never forget that your audience is human beings who, in a crisis, might be experiencing the worst day of their life. If COVID-19 taught us anything, it's the importance of empathy and compassion in our crisis communications and the need for communicators to play a bridging rather than a buffering role. We're not defending, we're reaching out. If people don't feel a connection with the messenger, trust weakens and we lose legitimacy. Don't forget your humanity. And finally, lesson 5, reach people where they are. It used to be that local government could put out a release and it would be picked up and delivered to residents who didn't have many information channels. Those days are long gone. Now residents are bombarded by information through many channels. While people are more connected than ever, they are more difficult to reach. In a crisis then, as local governments, we need to tailor our message to the right channel to reach those who need to hear it. The right message at the right time to the right audience on the right channel. So what can you take away from this video? Well, very little attention is paid to crisis communications in local government, but that gives us an opportunity to start now. The bottom line for local government crisis communications is to plan ahead, prepare, and develop a crisis mindset throughout your organization as much as possible. It could save lives. Cut through a noisy communications environment with empathy and meaning making so people understand what you're saying and they want to listen. Treat people like human beings and understand what they're going through during a crisis. Use your status as a trusted brand in the local community to protect the public trust and to get your message out. Use your advantage, but never forget the awesome purpose that you have, which is to inform the public and save lives. And finally, study private sector crisis responses and those from other organizations as well and learn from them. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So good luck in your crisis communications and good luck in your crisis communications preparedness. And let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you.